This is Neil Haggerty with the Rockbridge Reports on the Record. I'm here with Rockbridge County Community Development Director Sam Crickenberger. Mr. Crickenberger, thank you for being here today.
Happy to be here.
Now, a lot of people are saying that it's hard to find work in the county. Can you talk a little bit about the current business climate here?
You know, we're working real closely with our friends in the Valley, the Shenandoah Valley Partnership. We understand that economic development is an area-wide task, and we're all out there looking for opportunities for, of course, local tax base and employment. We've had some very recent projects that have done quite well. Devil's Backbone Brewery, which I love to talk about, in a year and a half has exceeded their 5-year goals and have already started a new building employing 26. Heatex down at Natural Bridge Station, which is a HVAC company, manufacturing company, just started 2 years ago. They're getting ready to get some new international contracts and expand their employment base. We've had some reorganizations of some businesses that have kind of consolidated into Buena Vista. The good news with that, and that was Hunter Defense Technology, was that the employment stayed in the area even though they moved from county locations into the old Modine building in Buena Vista. So that's worked out really well. Of course, the schools, very steady employment base for us, so we're really happy that we've got the college environment here and our own public school system that's doing well. But you know, we're competing with North Carolina, Maryland for large projects. We work real closely with the state, the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, which is their state agency. But when they have projects that come through, they're looking for the best area for that particular project. So that may be Rockbridge, it may be Rockingham, it could be Chesterfield or somewhere east of here.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. We talk about Rockbridge County being kind of a remote location. How do we compete with the bigger areas like in North Carolina or even in Roanoke and Charlottesville?
It's obviously very helpful to have a product ready to go. People are looking for pad ready or existing buildings that they can move into. They're looking for whatever incentives someone can put in place for them, whether it's at the local or the state level. Really large projects usually attract the office of the governor, who has his own funds that he can throw towards projects. On the local level, based on the amount of investment and jobs created, we may put up an incentive package to compete with that. But really, you know, having readily available sites, positioning yourselves, you know, letting companies understand what your strengths are and what you can make available. Particularly in Rockbridge County, we're a small area, but we've got great outdoor recreational opportunities and a wonderful quality of life that's really hard to compete with in a lot of areas. And so we really promote that as a tool for pulling businesses into here.
Now, one of those businesses that you've mentioned is Devil's Backbone Brewing Company. Can you talk a little bit about how the county assisted them in their growth here in this area?
Sure. They started in Nelson County with a little microbrewery and restaurant, and very successful in Nelson, and quite honestly, when they decided to expand, wanted to support their home county with the expansion. Nelson County unfortunately couldn't handle their sewage disposal. A friend of mine was actually working with the company, suggested I get in touch with the owner. I did. Brought them over to Rockbridge. We talked about the issues they were having and things that we could do to help resolve that. Showed them properties between Lexington and Rafine, and the county actually owned the old bowling alley property just north of Lexington. Great location, right on Route 11, very near the Interstate 64 interchange. And it was property that we were able to make a deal with since we actually owned it. So we actually have a 5-year performance agreement with the brewery that, based on a certain amount of investment and job creation, the 12 acres that we made available to them will be their property at the end of that period of time. We were looking at a $2.5 million investment in improvements and 10 jobs. In a year and a half, we have now about a $5 million investment and almost 30 jobs created.
there's another new project in the county, and that is Bobby Bergstresser's plan for the Artisan Center in Rafine. Can you talk a little bit about his plan there and what you see the county doing to help him?
Tourism is a huge business for us. So, and the ripple effect from tourism, I think local spending at this past year was about $113 million locally, with about $2 million in local tax revenue associated with that. And so the idea of the Artisan Center plays off of Tamarack in West Virginia and Heartwood down in Abington as a center to bring people in and showcase your area arts and crafts and music, wines and beers, and just a sort of a destination. We would hope that from that being located in Rafine, we would hope to have spin-off development with restaurants and motels and service-oriented businesses. So we're hoping a facility like that could be a big draw for our area also.
So it sounds like a facility like that would not only kind of boost up that area, but it would also help the smaller businesses too.
We think it's a lot of opportunity for smaller businesses to be involved in that and showcase their wares.
And then you have Natural Bridge. Can you talk a little bit about what the county is doing to try to push for some tourism efforts down there?
Sure. Natural Bridge is for sale. If you want to write a check for $20 million, it could be yours today probably. It's about 1,500 acres, the hotel, the caverns, the bridge, the visitor center, and some other little businesses going on in the area. We're trying to help incentivize the sale of the property, for one, by getting public water. They have a good water supply system, but it's a private system, and we think there'd be some real advantages to having public water available to the property. We're about a mile away with their line right now, so we're looking at trying to extend the line to the property, and then within the property they would have their own water system. We're also looking at putting some incentive zones in place, and I know we've talked about tourism zones, but state law was amended a couple of years ago to add this overlay taxing zone, and it's taxing in the sense of a return on the investment. So, localities are somewhat limited in terms of how they can rebate taxes, and this is a possibility of money that's generated from that project can be returned back into the project to help it grow.
What do you think of the odds of the bridge winding up in some sort of public ownership?
We think those odds are pretty good, actually. What we're really hoping is sort of an angel investor to purchase all of the property, manage the hotel, but then donate the bridge property and some amount of acreage. I don't know if that would be 700 to 1,000 acres to either state or national parks. We have been told that at both levels they're very interested in accepting that donation. There's no money available to actually purchase the property at state or federal level, but then that donor can take that as tax credits to offset their tax liability. It's pretty much like you would do if you put a conservation easement on your property.
What else do you think the county could do to possibly help the bridge's next owner?
Well, we could try to offset, if somebody's going to make some investment in the property, we could try to offset some of the costs of the fees associated with building and zoning permits, use of the landfill if possible. We have some on-the-job training grants that are available that if they're going to hire new employees, there's some money available through some state offices to help with employee costs for a year. I really think that's probably the best thing that we could do.
And as the county continues to try to create jobs and bring businesses, do you think there's certain types of businesses that the county should be focusing on when looking to bring them into the county?
We talk about that on a regional basis too, but heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is a real hub. The HVAC businesses in the area now. Hunter Defense Technology, which does shelter tents and generators for emergency services in the military, is a strong business in the area. What we've talked about a lot is strengthening our existing businesses. If they're here now, we want them to stay and grow and be successful. So we want to have a stronger relationship with both their business climates and actually the schools in the area to see how the schools can facilitate business development. And then the other thing to look at is the supply chains for the successful businesses area. Where they're getting their materials, and is that an opportunity to find some other businesses that may want to come closer to this area?
Now we've also got Buena Vista and Lexington in this area. Do you think there's a sort of competitive atmosphere between the county, the city of Buena Vista, and the city of Lexington?
I think we work really well together. I think we all like to have our own projects. The city of Lexington, quite honestly, doesn't have a lot of room to expand. Buena Vista has some available buildings and ability to expand area-wise. I think we all recognize that a business that comes into this area is going to create job opportunities for all three localities. And of course, with the city of Lexington, they have a joint revenue sharing agreement with the county to avoid annexation some years ago. And so we actually write Lexington a check for a little over $1 million a year out of that joint revenue sharing agreement. So they're successful wherever business happens to locate.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here today with us, Mr. Crickenberger. This is all the time we have left for the Rockbridge Report on the Record. I'm Neil Haggerty.